Some more, if it's some question that might be a little more complex to find an answer, then you can maybe write it in the chat and we will take it to the Q&A after the session today. Yeah, so yesterday we talked about making decisions and difficult conversations and how we can approach those two parts of the freelance musician's life. Of course, these are universal aspects, as well as what we're going to talk about today, which is the topic of money and how to manage money as a freelancer, and how to start out early, even maybe during your studies already or shortly after. But I hope that also people who are already employed on a fixed place can take something away for themselves. If there is anybody here who inherited millions and doesn't have any money worries at all, they can maybe still learn something about the other people they work with, about that situation, for more understanding. And yeah, let's get started. I will first give you quite a lot of content, and then we will also do some calculation examples for yourself. I asked you to pre-calculate your incomes and monthly expenses for the last 12 months, and also to do a little preview from what you know today for the next 12 months, so we can start from there. But that we will dive into later on. So I actually stumbled into this topic way deeper in the beginning of the pandemic. Maybe it happened to others of you too, because suddenly there was no possibility to earn a living, not really, at least for in the beginning. And I saw a lot of colleagues really struggling or even leaving the field completely because they didn't have built up savings, no buffer for bad days. We will also come to that later. And I was really lucky in that situation because I had some savings, and I didn't need to go to some social support or anything like that. I could make it through the pandemic, also thanks to some scholarships that I got. But anyhow, this was the point where I started, so now 4.5 years ago, to dive into this topic quite deeply. And today I will share with you the essence of what I'm still doing today, and also doing with my clients, who are all freelance musicians, mostly in the field of choir music. But anyhow, it's valid for any kind of freelancing, I guess. We will see. So one thing I remember from Berlin, and I know it from myself, is that as musicians, we are actually proud to say that we don't do this, or we didn't decide to become professional musicians to make a lot of money. At least that's what I always said. I always tried to not earn more that I have to pay taxes. That felt good. Like, okay, cool, I'm staying under this line. And that changed for me completely, because I started to realize that if I want to devote my life to being a professional musician in the world we live in today, maybe it will change because of AI in the next 10 years, we don't know. But in the world we live in today, if we want to devote our life to something, we need to earn money with it, as long as we didn't inherit millions that carry us through life. And that means professional means we will earn money with it. And I hope that after today, this will become a little bit more maybe neutral. I'm not saying, oh, we have to like cherish on that or just have this in mind. I think it's still good to have in mind our idealistic part and to embody that as well. But at the same time, know that this is what we earn a living with, so that we can devote all or most of our time to being better and better and to staying good in what we do. Because after all, it's not a hobby anymore. And I think this, because we mostly, I guess, as I remember also from Berlin, we come from making music as a hobby already in childhood. We have to do a different switch in our thinking and also in our routines and behavior than somebody who, let's say, becomes a tax accountant, because I guess they maybe didn't do that yet when they were 6 years old, but they decided after school, okay, this is what I'm going to study and this is what I'm going to earn my money with. So from the very beginning of that profession, it was clear that this is something I earn money with. And for us, it was in the beginning something that we got a bag of sweets for, or an applause, or yeah, some honors in a way, some personal rewards. And now it's not a hobby anymore. So what I discovered, we mostly, except we have a fixed place at a university, like Alberto told us yesterday, like a steady income. So there can be a month where we have 3 great projects, and then comes the summer and there is a big gap in our earnings. Many musicians, I'm not saying everybody, and I will ask around later on, how is it with you, lack overview and structure. I think also because of this, this volatile income, and lack savings and security, like what happens if you get ill for not a week, but for 10 weeks or half a year. And a positive money mindset. And what I mean with that is what I said before, that we are proud to say that, often we are proud to say that we don't do this for the money. We didn't study this to become rich or something else. And what I'm talking about today is also not about getting rich in the first place. But I think it's also not just ourselves. It's also in the society that the music itself and the musicians who perform it are not as valued in a financial sense as other academics. Yeah, if we studied for, let's say, 6 years, or as I did for 12 years, because I did 4 degrees in music, then we are academics and we are very, very highly educated and experts in what we do, and we are not valued like that from society, from politics, as, let's say, a doctor or a lawyer or whoever else comes from an academic field. Maybe that counts not just for musicians, but for the whole field of arts. And this is something that we also carry with us, yeah, that we also have to deal with, that puts us in a place of negotiating very often with ourselves and with others. And that is a rather difficult task, or it can feel uncomfortable. So yeah, I hope that after today, maybe also in the questions after the session, we will get a little bit deeper into that, because today is really more about hands-on and not so much about the mental part of the money mindset. But I still wanted to mention it because this hesitation from within and from the society that's surrounding us can cause that we don't even start to look at it. Let's say that would be a first step. So I will share with you the essence of what I discovered and implemented for myself and with others in the last 4.5 years. But this is, as I wrote here, not dogmatic. You will see later on also that this is a framework that is not just possible to be adapted to your reality, but it needs to be adapted to your reality. Because, yeah, we come from different countries, we have different life situations. Like if you have a family, maybe you want to put another percentage on your big savings for buying a house later than if you decide, for me, it's more important to yeah, enjoy daily what I earned that very evening or something like that. Also, we have different tax rates and so on. So you will maybe also get into some questions, because I will, of course, share how I usually do it until now. And this is from my background. Yeah? So if you have any questions to that background, you can, of course, always interrupt me and ask. I will share two main strategies with you. And if anybody knows one of these strategies, maybe unmute yourself just now and let me know for how long you're already knowing about it, or maybe even implementing it. So first is the profit first strategy. This will just be basically our starting point. We will not dive very deep into that. And then the 6 jars by T. Harv Eker. Is anybody here who heard about these, even learned about these, or is implementing these already? Okay, I don't see your faces, but I don't see anybody unmuting themselves, so I assume not. Okay. Okay, and for the end of this session, I will try that we are finished with the actual session around maybe 11:15, that even people who have to leave by 11 can still ask some question if they have. Would be that you have an idea for your personal money strategy for how to manage it, how to start, and that you feel like you can really achieve a balance between the music making part, the idealistic part, the part where you say, I would rather just not think about money at all and just focus on the music and the people I make the music with, and the balance between the money part. I'm doing this professionally. I have to earn a living with this to pay my rent, food, insurances, and my life quality, basically. And that you start to build this, some kind of financial security with joy. And I say on purpose, start, because this is a process that takes some time. So now I am doing, I learned about this 4.5 years ago, and I started to implement it roughly 4 years ago. And I got more systematic with it about 2.5 years ago. And I am maybe since 1 year now at a point where I can say that I start to feel secure. Yeah, and not just secure, but also free. And this is where we can look back to the sessions of yesterday, especially the first one, that if we build a financial security for ourselves and have a feeling of that we have control over this, we are much more free to decide what we do and what not. Of course, there's always still the personal part, the value part, but at least we don't feel like we depend on earning every single euro that flies into our inbox as a request. And this is, of course, very much helpful for a long-term career in the field of music, especially because we want to make it for our joy and not because we crave every euro that we can somehow earn. So if you start to implement it, know that it needs some patience, but you can also at the same time start from day one, maybe still today even, or latest tomorrow, to implement these things, and to get more and more into these routines adjusted to your personal needs. Okay, I just offered now these two strategies. Of course, there are many, many more. Also, I don't know them all, definitely. Is anybody here, and please unmute yourself, who has an active money management strategy in some way? It can also be very basic. I can again not see your faces. This is really weird. But I don't see anybody unmuting. So, Lisa, yes. Would you like briefly share what it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's not very complicated metaphysics. I have a budget and a budget app, and I try to stick to it.
And the budget is like you feed it with your income and it tells you about where you are in your expenses, or what does that exactly mean, that app?
Well, it's a bit. Well, I have a partner, and he has. I usually like to say a normal job and a steady income. So we have like it's more like his salary is used for like surviving, and the
Hmm.
basic budget is based on that. And I cover like the extras so that can fluctuate more.
Hmm.
And yeah. And also when I get paid, I always put some part in savings, some part for reinvesting, and some part also a little bit of enjoying because I worked hard and yeah.
Yeah. Super. Okay, great. That is, you will find yourself in this, I think. And yeah, I mean, I also know people who practice this bit more complex money management, but you can of course also keep it simple as a couple, which is basically a financial partnership as well, if it's something serious. Okay, thank you so much, Lisa. Okay, let's start with one of the most important things for freelancers, let's say. Let's just go really so universal, and that is a backup for not one rainy day, it's just the term, but for times where you, for some reason, cannot work as you would want to, or you don't want to work for some reason, for some amount of time, like half a year of sabbatical, let's say, or even though that could maybe go into another field, but a certain amount of savings. The general advice is 6 months of expenses and just really necessities. So rent, food, and insurances. Yeah, these three, which maybe you calculated beforehand, and times 6. I have by now built savings for a rainy day for a whole year, or if I know it won't be a whole year, then I can have a half a year or 9 months with some better circumstances than just necessities. But this is really super important because sometimes we look at a more empty calendar, and for that moment, it's great to know that your past self, backed you up for that. And this is money that you have saved exactly for that case. It's not money you take away from your holiday savings or money you take away from your savings to buy a house one day, but it's really just meant to back you up in cases of emergency, and in cases of it just doesn't fit in the calendar, or the requests just don't come. It can happen, not because you did a bad job. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it's just 1 month or just 2 weeks where you lack an income, but you already have to pay a lot of bills. And then this is a perfect pool to go to know that you can pay your bills. Yeah. So this is after survival, survival, like monthly covering your usual expenses, a priority. So for me, when I started 4 years ago, that was the first thing I started to save. Not only, we will come to that in a bit, still at the same time, I put a tiny part away for the joy part. Like Lisa said, you worked hard and you also want to enjoy in the now because life is short. but a main part of what I earned went to that until it was full. And then I changed my strategy. So you can calculate yourself 6 monthly wages or 6 monthly amounts of your survival expenses. And that amount is the first thing to save for. Just by this strategy. Of course, you can decide, I don't want that, I don't need that. But this is something that helped me to become a lot more free in my decision making and in my, knowing I'm okay, I will be okay. Yeah. Then we will also get a bit later to some overview how to organize the accounts you have, the cash accounts and savings accounts. So this month, money should be on an account where you don't go. You're not tempted to use it for something else. And what I did, I don't know if that is in every country. I wanted that it has some okay interest rate, which is difficult in our days, but also that it's not prone to the volatile stock market. So I didn't want to invest this money because then you never know when you need it, it might be down. And so I wanted to have it in a safe place with a good interest rate. And for me at the moment, that's I'm not doing any promotion here, just sharing with you what is maybe a possibility also in other countries than Germany is Trade Republic. They have a cash account and they pay at least 2% of interest. So that this money is laying there and I'm not using it as long as I don't need it. And it's growing a little bit, at least that. And it's an account where I cannot pay in the supermarket with my card from. So I'm not touching this. Okay. This was the first priority. We will mention that later again. And then now we will look a tiny bit into this profit first strategy. So this is a whole book. You can buy it and read it. And the author, which is quite funny, and I tell you today, I did this. Maybe it's a bit crazy, but the author asks you that when you read it, that you can write him an email. He writes the email address, and that you commit yourself to implement this profit first strategy, and that you open this kind of different accounts to make yourself accountable. And then at some point, when I started this 4 years ago, I really wrote this email because I wanted to also see if it's true. And he replied and said, that's great, go for it. Whatever, just something short. But this profit first, this is widely spread strategy over all kinds of businesses. You see here in this overview, businesses until 50 million revenue per year. I don't think that we are there, not even with the big organizations we might work for. But yeah, this is really has become some kind of movement basically, and there are a lot of people who coach on this, like in super detail. So if you want to learn more about this, there is a lot out there. What I find the most interesting aspect of this, and this is maybe where we will already leave it, is the actual title, Profit First. And what is meant with that is not that, well, we just have the euro signs in our eyes and this is the first thing on our priority list. No, it means that from any income you have, because you are your business, the first thing that you put aside is a profit from this income. And then after that, only the expenses have their place. And this profit can be tiny. So here in the beginning, I marked this yellow because I thought maybe this is where we are all somehow at home at the moment, or most of us at least, is only 5%. It can also be less. It can be, okay, my profit is 1%. And this is just a psychological aspect that what we do will over time create us a profit and a buffer and something that we can really enjoy our lives fully from, also in a financial point of view, and always seen every euro we earn as a medium to do something great with our life, to give somebody a present, to go out and have drinks, to have a good holiday, or whatever else it is that in our world we need money for. And the second aspect, which we will also come to with this 6 jars method, is to have different accounts for different things. So we can just quickly go through this, through these lines. So the real revenue is like you have a project and you get paid, let's say 1,500, that's the 100%. First thing, you put 5% aside into your profit. Then you know what are your expenses. That's the so-called owner's pay that you put or leave on your main account. However you want to organize that, you put aside tax savings. We will also come to that in a bit. And in this case, operating expenses, which I, as a musician, see in my owner's pay, because operating expenses, that's me, yeah? Like I need to be healthy, I need to eat, to drink, to be able to sing and to go where I go. But for example, people who are now in a place of wanting to audition a lot, that could be a bucket or a jar that you say, okay, I'm having this jar for investing into my future jobs, and there I put aside money for auditions. And whenever I see, okay, I have I don't know, 250 euros saved there, I look around, what are the next auditions? Or when I see an audition, I see, can I afford it right now? So it doesn't feel like you take money for going to audition from, again, from your holiday money or from having enough food. Okay, so with that, we leave the profit first. And if you want to dive into that deeper, I will also later on share a reading list again with Gizem. So you don't have to memorize it now. So the strategy 2 is the 6 money jars. Sometimes that's also 5. I again put it a little bit different. I will explain you shortly. But this is the original strategy that I started with, and then I adjusted it later. And this is why I'm sharing it with you, because also everything that you get today, and if it resonates with you and you think, okay, I want to try this out, you might come to a point where you say, okay, for me, there's something missing or something is too much. And it's always adjustable. So this doesn't just work if you take like stubbornly the 6 jars. It can also be modified. So I don't know if I can zoom here. That's cool. So the necessities, so here, this is the owner's pay, called in profit first, is here 55%. And all these jars, they count after the tax savings are put aside already. So this is, let's say I put 20% aside from every income first to the tax savings, for when the tax bill comes, I don't have to, I'm not struggling to find that money. And of what is left, 55% go into the necessities. In this case, this is a suggestion, of course, no? It depends on how much you earn and how big your expenses are. So this we will calculate later. Rent, food, electricity, bills, insurances, and for me also operating expenses, like what is that? Yeah, I don't know, my Zoom account and some other things that I pay regularly or irregularly to do my job. Maybe also going to auditions, I would take from that account. So I round this up a little bit to have a little bit extra for something that comes irregularly as an expense. Then the second jar, and he calls it 6 jars, I think because of his grandmother or something. She was saving her coins in jars. So yeah, I just went with that picture as well. Is a long-term savings. He puts the rainy day fund there. That's of course a possibility as soon as you have collected that. I did that differently, so I had a separate account for that, but you will also see that later. Bigger purchases, like you need a new instrument, a new car, yeah, whatever that could be, private or professional. Many people have a separated business account and a private account. I don't do that because I'm full-time freelancer as the person I am, and eventually it doesn't really matter for my bookkeeping for myself. But of course, that would also be a possibility to translate this whole system into 2 different fields, just for the business and just for the private. Vacations, unexpected bigger medical expenses. There you can also see that this comes more from an American point of view. Depends on your country, you know, if you will have unexpected medical expenses or if that's covered by insurance. Anyway, then the next jar is play. So this money is actually meant for the joy, for the I worked hard and I also want to enjoy in the here and now. And ideally, you have some kind of rhythm when this bucket is empty or this jar is empty. So this doesn't just become another savings account, but this becomes really an account for spending. I found this to be the most difficult part, maybe in the first 2 years, that I didn't just now save in very many different buckets and feel safer and safer, but that I also really used the money that was meant to be used in the here and now. And I have now some kind of half a year cycle to say, then this will be empty. And for example, for me, holiday goes into this play bucket to have one possibility of a holiday half a year. Or going out in a restaurant, having a day at the sauna, whatever it is that paddles your canoe. Then a jar for education, super important also in our field. Your singing lessons, your mentoring, books, scores, master classes. Also, this would be 10% after this system. It can also be some health classes, like a yoga course, everything that grows you, that is an investment in your human capital, so-called human capital. The second last is financial freedom account, which is for investing. Yeah, I always thought that, I mean, until 4.5 years ago, I thought that I will never invest into stocks because I just don't understand this, and this is just like so far from me. But then I just said, okay, it's just 10%, so I will try it. And now, yeah, I'm doing this since 4.5 years and have some ETF savings and so on. Maybe some of you also have that started already. And ideally, that's 10% of your income after tax reduction. Can also be something else. No, it's a long list here. Yeah. Buy a flat and rent it out to somebody else. And then the last jar, and equally important, even though the percentage is a little lower, is give. And from give, of course, not just donations, like giving back to the community, but also individual, at least I do that. If I want to gift somebody else, invite them for a dinner, or yeah, I know how much I have ready to spend for that, and it feels like I can be much more freely generous with other people also, and yeah, also contribute other than with paying taxes to society like by my own will, because with my taxes, I don't know what people will pay from. At the moment, probably weapons. And that's not something that I'm very happy about. But with my own jar, I can decide I will donate this to some charity for children or whatever is important to me, or in that case, then for you. So this would be the 6 jars originally. And now this is how I translated that into my own reality. So I have a few more jars. It became 9 jars, or let's say 3 main jars and the 6 under jars. So I get an income, 100% is that. First thing I do, I distract 20% and put them into that same account where I have the savings for a rainy day. So I put taxes away for the whole year until I get my bill, at least a big part of it. And I don't want that to just get less and less because of inflation. So I put it into that savings account where I found is the best interest rate in my country for now. So this would be a research maybe for you, if you don't have such an account yet, to find out in your country what would be the best account to have for your savings, where you get some interest, where you get the highest interest possible at the moment. And there I have stored my tax savings, which I don't touch, and my savings for a rainy day, and they nicely grow a little bit throughout the year. Yeah, it's a few hundred euros per year, so why not take them if I can? And then after the tax savings, I put my profit to the side, which is at the moment of the whole 100%, 36%, and 44% is necessities. We will come to the volatility later, because of course I also have bad months. Yeah. And I cannot rely on the same income every month. And then what I still adjusted after maybe 3 years only, so it's quite recent, I don't know if I can zoom into that, is that I added one more of these profit jars, which is called Murphy. Anybody have an idea what I mean with that? If you have, you can gladly unmute yourself. If not, I'm gonna say.
Is it Murphy's Law?
Yeah, Murphy's Law, exactly. Like anything that will go wrong, can go wrong, will go wrong. And I did that after I had my car in the workshop, and I got a rental car. And of course, because anything that can go wrong will go wrong, I parked it here in the street, and on the morning I wanted to bring it back. Some very kind person drove so close that my mirror was off. And who had to pay that? Me. So I didn't know where to take this money from. And it was so annoying, because then I took it a little bit from these savings and from that savings. It felt so annoying that I started to have this jar for when I started to install it. It was called stupid shit jar, like fines because you didn't see the actual speed you are allowed to drive, or I don't know, I came back from with a train and it was so late that I missed the bus. I had to take an Uber and the train company didn't reimburse me. Stuff like that is just annoying, and is nothing that you would want to pay or you planned to have as an expense. I take from that, and it feels somehow different. Yeah, of course, this whole system is also a lot about the psychology behind how we have our money in control. And then these numbers are a bit less even, but it's exactly so. If the 36% profit would be 100%, we would see this 100% of the profit, then 10% of that is play, 10% is grow, 10% is save, 10% is invest. And genau, because I have the extra jaws, sorry. it's different. So if it's 100% the profit, then the play, grow, save, and invest are 21% of this 100%. 11% of this profit part I put into give, and 5% into Murphy jar. So this is how it is. But it's similar by the proportion. Are there any questions about this so far? Okay. Otherwise, if a question is still forming, you interrupt me later on. Yeah. So if you would like take this picture that I have here for you and adjust that to yourself, then at least this is how I did it when I adjusted it for myself, and also when I work with other people on it. Then the three big jars, they are like something that you adjust to yourself. Tax savings, you can only say what the rate is for you individually in your country, roughly. Yeah. Only you can say how much of your average income or your income of the last 12 months needed to go into necessities. Yeah, this is why I asked you to calculate that. And then you basically see what is the profit that you at the moment can put aside first. And then the percentages of the 6 small jars, they can stay the same. Yeah, just the amount, of course, changes. And for me, in the beginning, because I was still piling up the savings for a rainy day, first I did it for half a year, and then later on I decided I want to have a bit more buffer, so I saved for a whole year. And then I changed the profit, and it was for some time maybe also only 5%. And then, or sometimes even less. And then when I had that piled up, I changed that number again. So we will come back to this picture in a bit. And I just did, I think here, yeah, I did some examples for you. So the priorities for starting out. Lisa is not starting out, but maybe she can also find something, and everybody else. So the first priority, of course, is that we survive. Yeah? We cannot build up savings if we are just always on the edge of survival. But this is the first thing that needs to be covered. And what is left from that, we build up the savings for a rainy day, first thing. But for symbolics and for building the habit, we put aside, even if it's only a very tiny amount, yeah, €1 per month per jar, or even less. We start to put a little profit aside, how little ever that is. And then the next step would be expanding or adjusting to changed circumstances. So now I just calculated for a situation that I had, let's say maybe 15 years ago or something, when I was still studying, and I had some singing students, not much more as a job, maybe a little concert every here and there, but I was already financing everything on my own. I didn't yet build my savings for a rainy day, so this would be a suggestion. If you start out now, if you're still in your studies or just afterwards and have rather low average income per month, which you have hopefully an overview now. Roughly, I had a very low rent. I didn't have to pay a lot of insurance, so this was quite a low amount. And of course, I just had one account back then, and I paid stuff from it, and then I got some money, and then I paid stuff from it. I had zero overview, but this is how I would do it now. If I could go back in time, this is how I would do it. And even if really from this monthly average of €1,000 15 years back, I would have invested these €7.56 per month. Yeah, this symbolic. After 15 years, that would be a certain amount of money. Yeah, a serious amount of money that I then didn't have after 15 years. So even these small numbers make sense to start with for the actual numbers, but also for building the habit, especially for that. And for me, that's now really a lot of fun to work with my jars. You can, in a lot of banks, you can do this automatically. You can just set, okay, every income that comes in, so much percent goes here, 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 here. Can talk about this later. But I do this manually because it feels more like I have it in my hands. At least for now. Who knows what will be in 5 years. And a second example, and this is how I do it today. If I get an income, because I don't have a monthly average income, I get, I don't know, first half a year was crazy, second half a year is a bit calmer. I take every income that I get. I know in like approximately what I'm gonna earn in the year. I know my expenses that I monthly have, and I know that this is what I would, I mean, this is again an example. These are not my numbers, that were the ones from before. But with every income I have, I divide by my percentages. Doesn't matter if it's like just singing on a wedding for €500, or if it's a big choir project where I get, I don't know, 4,000 in the end. I divide like this. Every income that comes, I sit down with my calculator, and if it's a bit more complicated numbers, and transfer to my different accounts. And that means that in some months I have a lot more money for necessities than I need. And for that I have connected to my usual main cash account another savings account where I store that and basically pay myself my wage in the month where I don't have a big income. So that's another little pile for the fluctuation that levels out the fluctuation. Okay, so these were just two examples for you to visualize it a little bit more. And now we will do a little bit of calculating. But before, are there any questions by now? Or thoughts on this? Doubts? Okay. What I love is that most of you people still have your camera on. So this is really cool. Okay, so you had your, and what you will calculate now for yourself, I will give you like 5 to 7 minutes or something. This is really just for you. I also said that before, that your numbers you don't have to share. If you want, you can, of course, but you don't have to. You take the income that you calculated for the last 12 months, and you distract some kind of realistic or imaginary tax percentage, calculate what your in total your expenses were in the last 12 months. Yeah, the survival expenses, and what percentage that is of your income that you calculated, and the rest you just for fun, just so you do it once, put into those jars. And I will now go back to that empty picture where you can decide yourself on the percentages of the first 3 jars, of the main jars. Yeah. Okay, let's say 5 minutes. That should do, and then we will go on. Okay. The 5 minutes are over. I just stopped the sharing for now because hi everybody. Yeah, maybe share a little bit, like, not your numbers or percentages or something, but how is that, like, what is that experience like?
Maybe I can share something if you
Yeah,
want.
sure.
It's not really about today, but basically I did this. I started my budget this summer because we bought a house.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of sleepless nights about finances and stuff. And I think putting everything into writing and having this overview gave me a lot of rest and peace.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then yeah, you feel like you can manage, and it's not like daily stress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, erasing the question marks, basically, some important.
Yeah, and also yeah, I like this budget app. Is also I know, oh no, I have to be more careful, or oh no, I can be a bit more can enjoy a bit more. So that's also nice, just not
Mm-hmm.
having to wonder it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, anybody else? Maybe I forgot something that I can still share. When I started this in, I don't know, April 2020, the first thing that I actually had to like take a bitter bite on was that I had quite a certain amount of debt, because when I started to study piano, I bought a grand piano, and I got a big like, how's that called? Like, somebody borrowed me money from the family, and I never knew if I was able to pay that back. So it was a bit like, we're not sure, and waiting a bit longer, and if I can afford that. And when I decided, no, I will take this into my hands now. Of course, the first thing, even before setting up this savings for a rainy day, was I had to pay back this debt. And that was quite a bitter pill to swallow because it took so much of my savings before I could start out really. And that was maybe a moment of frustration, but also it felt really free to not owe anybody any money anymore. And to start to know that every earning that I make is mine. I'm not saving anymore to pay something back at the side, not knowing when and if I can afford to pay it back, and so on. So if anybody is in a situation like that, from maybe a study credit or something like that, and that feels frustrating, that's probably normal. But it's also good. It's good to see the reality of this kind of stuff and face it. Yeah. So this I forgot before. Anybody else? Maybe it feels super good, and you can also share that. Or it doesn't do anything to you. Also possible.
I can also share a bit of
Yeah,
my story.
Margita.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
So I actually wanted to add a little bit as well, but I'm not so organized with the jars or whatever. But I also started maybe in summer some kind of system of keeping track of the income and so on, and what I spend and so on. It's not so well organized, but it's just for me to have idea, because as you in the COVID times, I hit the ground pretty hard, and I decided not to be freelancer anymore, at least partially, and I decided to go on contract. And nowadays, I'm trying to do that a bit less because I really want to sing more and do music more. But it's such a hard, I'm having very hard time to leave the safe ground of the contract money that I get every month to make this transition, you know, and do just projects and just freelancing. But I'm trying to do that a bit. So I already cut my schedule a little bit at school where I teach on the contract. But that made me make this kind of, you know, like a list of money that I spend and I get during every month. So I started doing that now, and every month I put it there just to have idea, not go broke completely.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
so but I'm really having hard time to leave the safety ground. Maybe it's about personality as well, but I really like to be independent and I wouldn't like to ask anyone for help. So I'm really liking this. Okay, I can take care of this. I always have this money for rent and the basic cost of life, you know, because
Yeah.
it's very scary for me that month comes and I don't have any income and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's of course a psychological part to it, but I think that building up these savings for a rainy day can, and maybe with still the means of the contract you're in, or with the freelance jobs that you do on top of it at the moment, to say, okay, what I earn with this first, I will build this, so I have the freedom to one day leave this contract and still feel safe enough because I can pay myself.
Yeah.
From my rainy day funds. So I think it's actually quite a good point to start from, that you are under contract because you have this safety, and to not cut that with an axe from one day to another and try to have the courage for that, but to rather build a financial safety that gives you the freedom to do that. Step by step, I think, because I know some people who, like after the pandemic was over and the freelance jobs started to go on again, they decided, okay, the contract that I went into for because I panicked, I will just cut that off now, and the new freelance world after COVID was not completely running yet, or they were maybe not asked by all groups again that they had been part of before. That really caused a lot of stress. And I mean, I like quitting jobs because I've also done that a lot, but I think it's good to do that in a reasonable way so that you also feel with your music making that you don't rely on every euro. I think it's smart to do it like that. Cool, Marketa. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay, then I will now see how can I get back into my presentation mode from the point where we just left. We don't need all anymore. Okay, so this we had, the examples. And now I also asked you to estimate what will be in the next 12 months. I don't know how is it in your country, but here in Germany we have some kind of artists insurance, and it functions like an institution that is our employer. So we pay for the health and retirement and caretaking insurance, we pay 50% and they pay 50% This is tax-funded, the quite complicated system, which is great. Yeah, it's like some security network for artists and publishers in Germany. And they want to know every December, they want to know what will I earn the next year. And they want me to write them a letter and estimate that. And if throughout the year that changes, I have to get in touch again and write them, yeah, now, I don't know, I had to cancel 3 projects because I was ill, or I got 7 more projects into the calendar. So now it is, my income will be this. And by this pre-calculation, they then adjust my 50% and their 50% for the insurance payment, the monthly one. So I do this since, I don't know, also since 15 years, maybe every year. And I know that it can be really difficult and confusing because so many things come spontaneously and we cannot really foresee them. And maybe we can estimate a little bit from, I mean, at least if we are freelancers, of course, talking into this direction. And we cannot always know from the past how will it be in the future. But I really hope that you calculated what you know for now and maybe gave it some little extra, because you know usually something still comes around Passion time or Christmas time, some short notice things. Or I know that this guy, he always requests really late, but he already told me that there will be something, and it usually is this and that. So we just do a calculation again, like we did before, and take a little less time, just for yourself to have some idea where to start out, looking at the year ahead. Always knowing, if you decide after today, of course, that you would maybe consider managing your money in a similar way. Even if not, it's maybe good to look at this reality that is ahead of you. For me, the annoying insurance asking me in December what I will earn the next year actually became quite useful, because this forces me to calculate that beforehand, and to know if I have to adjust rather a little bit, because maybe the year is not as full as it was the year before. So I don't run into empty accounts already in February. And I rather then adjust again when more work comes into my inbox. So yeah, so you know where you could start from which percentages. I give you another 3 minutes, let's say, and the empty paper again, if you want to have a peek. Emma has to leave. Okay, take care. Bye-bye. This is the empty paper, 3 minutes, and you just do your ahead calculating to have an idea where to start, even if you do it in a more simple way. Okay, so far so good. That was the part of doing a little bit of calculating. I really encourage you to do this very regularly, not just to be in control of things or have an overview. That's of course one important part, but to find a naturalness for you with numbers, that they become like something neutral and something you see. Okay, I'm not meeting even my necessities for 3 months in a row. Maybe it's time to get in touch with some people, or to come up with something myself, like what would be a good money earning thing, or should I go to my rainy day funds? However, yeah, like that you and that this is not something that you only do in situations where you cannot do differently, but just, yeah, like daily practicing, or weekly going on a project by train, part of your being professional. Now I'm just giving a suggestion that has come out of the last 4 years of doing this for myself, and also how I know it works for others. But of course, as it says, it's just a suggestion. So what does that actually mean for my accounts, my bank accounts? 15 years ago, I had one bank account at the main old Sparkasse in Germany. And there was my income and my expenses, and all together, no overview. And when I started this, when I actually made myself accountable to the author of Profit First, I started to open some more accounts. I back then had already a main account and a savings account, so 1A and B were existing. But this savings account is, yeah, it's really not a lot of interest. So if you look at inflation, then actually the money was just losing value the whole time. And then with a suggestion of Profit First and my own thoughts on how can I have my personal overview, I started to open other accounts. So I opened this savings account, which has a higher interest, where I was just researching, and maybe we can make that for everybody who wants, just like the first step to research, where would you actually want to have your accounts? What does your bank offer, and what is possible in your country? So I opened this savings account with a higher interest rate, where I think now it already changed, but back then it was that I could get to my money flexibly, like it was not set there in stone for 10 years, because tax savings or savings for a rainy day I might need in the matter of a few days. But it was not like an instant money transfer beam something in seconds. So it always took a few days. But that was important for me, interest and flexibly available, not necessarily very, very quickly. Then on top of that, I opened an account for my profit jars. I hear a lot of banks offer that now, that you can have a main account and then like 10, 20 jars under that. Of course, these percentages that I am suggesting, they are an example that works for me. You could also say I need one more extra jar for that, and that other one I don't need. Important is that you know what are usually the things that you spend money on, and that you know from which jar they will come. Yeah, that you know where they live. That basically every euro you have gets a purpose. And this account was for me important, that it's available flexibly. So if I don't know, I meet a friend and we go out and I say, hey, come on, I invite you, that I know, okay, I can take this now from my play account and I don't have to transfer money from here to there and so on. And then I started also 4.5 years ago. It was actually a panic reaction to finding out that I was pregnant. I started investing into stocks because I thought, okay, now I have to grow up. I have to start to learn this. And so I have a portfolio for investing long term. So this is money that I don't touch. I mean, if I hopefully get that old before I'm 65 or something like that, yeah, and just invest there monthly into ETFs, and I don't sell this or use this money for anything but building up this financial freedom account that was also mentioned in one of the in the picture of the 6 jars, of the original 6 jars. So this is how I have it: 1, 2, 3, 4 accounts. And actually, one thing is missing here, because I started to trust more into this movement of the stock market. I decided that the long-term savings for, I don't know, buying a new car or whatever it is, yeah, in the best case, a castle, this I wanted to have the chance that this money also grows, because I don't need it now. So this is also invested into some into a automatic ETF savings plan in another account, which is of course putting it at some kind of risk, but also giving it more chance to grow without only me putting money in there with every earning I have. So there is by now a 5th account, which, yeah, I will see if that was smart, but at the moment I think it's the right thing. This. So I made a list here on the next slide with the usual questions that come up. And I think a few of them I asked already. How many accounts? Yes. Investing where and how? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anybody of you invests already, then you have your answer already. But I think there is a lot out there in our days. It's really not a science. There are very simple apps, and it works quite intuitively. What I definitely did before I started that was I read like 2 or 3 books on investing, especially on the psychological part, and of course also a little bit on the rational part, like how to decide, what are the factors to decide in what to invest, in which ETF and so on. And then that gave me my how. Yeah, so it's definitely good to research a little bit about that. But for me, it didn't need like 2 years of feeling like I have to study this. So it's really, there are some good, many good probably platforms besides YouTube, where you can learn a lot about how this functions and how to start. And I recommend that, because it's just a part. It's not like your whole life depends on how this goes up and down. And for me, it really paid off already now after these 4.5 years, even though I did a lot of mistakes in the beginning. So yeah, exactly. And this separation between business account and private account, I think this really matters on your way how to do bookkeeping, and how to eventually transfer that into your tax declaration and all. For me, it never started to make really sense to make this extra step. So for me, it's still, by my system, would be an extra effort to bring into in some order that doesn't really help much more. Yeah, So fluctuating monthly income, I think I answered. And now, before we come to the Q&A, I have one last resource for you, and this is not made by me, but this is you can just Google it and download it, or I can also send it over a GISM later. It's just a PDF that I started to do. I will zoom in a little bit in a moment. So this is by the same author that came up with these 6 jars, or that made this more precise. 6 jars is also not like a completely new invention. And this is something that I do now once a month, mostly in the end of the month, like it suggests here. And it's really, I mean, it gives a good overview, not just of expenses, but also of if you start to invest and to save at the side and so on, to see that managing money in a way that you can live now and enjoy now, and at the same time build something for tomorrow, that this helps to see that your buffer grows. Yeah, and to see a final number once a month really helped me to be motivated to go on with this, even if it was just small steps. So there are a lot of fields that, for example, I don't fill in yet, or maybe never will. So cash and bank accounts, it's clear. Then these bonds, term deposit, investment certificates, I don't even really know what that means. So not maybe for some of you that's relevant. Then money owed to you. This is a part that I usually forgot. Like bills that haven't been paid yet. Or I don't know, I was selling my viola to a friend, and she was having it for 2 years already and didn't pay it yet. And this is still my money, basically, that's still out there somewhere. Other things that are liquid, let's how it's written here. Then marketable, there for me that's at the moment only stocks, but there's of course a lot more that can fall into this category. Long-term assets, that would probably be also if you have some extra retirement insurance, if that makes sense for you, life insurance and so on. So more this insurance part where you save money with somebody else who gives you then a security for later. Personal assets, yeah. Of course, you have your car and you cannot pay your monthly shopping with your car or with your bike or whatever you have. But this is also meant for you to realize, first, what you already have, and second, if shit would really hit the fan one day, what you could say, sell. You know, I mean, this is of course like a crazy scenario, worst case scenario, but knowing what you have also in actual items is quite an interesting thing, actually, to realize that. And yeah, then you total that, and then you write down what you owe, and make a total net worth of that. And yeah, do this monthly for a few years, and you will see that there is a development that, yeah, with having an overview and a management system for your incomes, will start to show you your amount of freedom. You can also set like some kind of in-between goals. What number would you need to reach so that you feel like, okay, now I can quit my job. Now I can say, ciao contract, hi complete 100% freelance life. And that could be a goal in the total and not just in this one savings account. Okay, so this I can send, and with that, we're for now at the end of today's session. Yeah, I would like to hear a little bit your thoughts. We still have 15 minutes before the official Q&A starts. You can gladly also say something about yesterday or maybe what still came up afterwards. But I talked enough now into your direction. So.
I can just say something real quick.
Yeah.
Just last month, I started to do a financial literacy course. So this is very familiar to me at the moment. And this very week, I'm in the part of the investing course.
Oh,
So
perfect.
it just feels like a really interesting, like they complement each other really well, the courses. And I was having some kind of questions about the non-invested money, getting interest rates on non-invested money and stuff like that, and where to put money. And you kind of answered a couple of questions that I had about the other course. So this has been really interesting for me.
Happy to hear. And cool that you're also anyway busy with it already. Thank you, Miguel. Who else? Okay. Anybody has any questions? Was anything unclear or brought up some doubts or I don't know, joy?
I would like just to say thank you to Jenny for these 3 sessions. I think it was really nice. I would have loved to listen to this, like when I was starting to find jobs and trying to be on my own, and also because of my personal situation, I will be moving and changing from rent to like a owned flat. So also my numbers will change a lot in the next months. I have to buy like furniture and all this kind of stuff that I was not thinking about when I was a student. And it was really interesting, this session. And yeah, and also I think maybe in some countries, at least in Spain, I think we have a tendency to look for very fixed jobs, and we normally try to not risk a lot on the economical stuff and not invest. And so we just try to leave fixed jobs and save money, let's say. So we would never think on investment. Um, but I have a friend that he was working, he's 52 now. He was working in a fixed position in a conservatory of music for a very long time, choral conductor. And he sometimes had to pay this fixed position with not being able to make a career in choral conducting out of the school. This is something that sometimes I struggle a little bit, because it's difficult that you get the permission to do things out of the school when you have a fixed position. And yeah, and after 25 years of fixed teaching, he said, okay, this is the moment, and he took the opportunity, and now he's completely freelance, and his also his personal situation and economical situation is much better than even when he had this fixed job. Of course, he's someone that was working like a national level with national course, etc. But yeah, so I think this is not that it's best one or another, but every situation has its pros and cons, and maybe for everyone there is a moment for different situation, I would say.
Yeah. Thank you, Alberto.
Oh, and
Hello.
yeah, sorry. Yes, yeah. Yes, I forgot that. I wanted to mention, maybe you are also familiar, Jenny, with the business model Canvas, or someone have heard
Canva.
about it. Yes, it's a kind of system. There are a lot of information also on the internet. There is a book about this. And it's a kind of canvas where you can put what is the strengths of what you are trying to build, what are your partnerships, your income, your expenses, and it's more not as much as for your own economical management, but more when you want to start a project from zero and see if it can be sustainable in lots of ways. So if you want to check it out, it's interesting.
Thank you so much. I will write that down and check it out, definitely. Bastien, you wanted to where I'm
Yes, hi. I guess talk about finance wouldn't be complete without Swiss input. I've got three takeaways. First of all, we can all give us kudos because we have to be great artists. We have to be graphic designer, we have to be web designer, we have to be agent, and now we have to be investors and bookkeeper. I mean, it's we are amazing people. Just to underline this. And I wanted to give two advice that helped me a lot. I don't know if it applies for all the countries, but I visited a tax advisor um, when my situation got stabilized, and it helped me to save, or at least to invest my money wisely. For example, if we pay the tax, if we save money for the tax on our bank accounts, or if we pay regularly our tax, the interest rates can be better if we pay the tax, or if we open the tax account. And I'm also part of a sort of a union in Switzerland where they offers as well courses, or they give advice on how to not invest our money, but how we can get help for the governments, how we can request special fundings, insurance. So we have the opportunities. It's always a good class or course to take.
Thank you. Who else?
I don't know. For me, this is like, I feel like we all have very different backgrounds. Well, maybe not very different backgrounds, but we have very different states at the moment. I'm coming maybe more from like a student. I'm still very much in the student thing. I'm not very much established. Like professionally, I don't have a lot of work. Um, that's definitely where I'm going to, but all of this feels like very scary in a way. And it's just, I think I don't know if it's the same with the others, but I just have so much doubt, and like there's so many months where it's really scary. Um, so this really helps, but it's just there's a lot of I'm always so hesitant to do these kind of things because it's I know that it's necessary, but at the same time it's just yeah, when I've been studying like in Austria and now the Netherlands, and you always have to finance everything on your own. Um, yeah, and circumstances always really change. But I mean, this is very helpful. I'm just saying that like throughout this whole session, I just could feel like all of this anxiety this whole time because it is, I mean, yeah. Um, but I definitely need to kind of learn how to dive into it without getting scared.
I feel you. I've been in that place definitely, and it also sometimes still comes back. I think two things really help there. So as routines, basically, as routine reaction. Marketa has to go. Bye bye. Take care. As routine reactions to this maybe resistance, anxiety, even though we know it's better. One thing is to realize, for me, it was an important part. We still live in very safe and supportive countries, all of us. And we will not, even if we have nothing, we will not end up under a bridge. Yeah, we can always find a way, always. And to basically make a list, if it's like written down or just in your head, of securities that you have outside yourself, even if they are just little. The network of friends you have, not saying that you ask them for their money, but where one could sleep. Like, I was really thinking in that worst case scenario, because that worst case scenario is what brings the anxiety. Yeah, that somehow our head goes into some fantasy of we will lose everything, we will never have anything, and like existential fear that actually is. And realizing that I have enough people around me who would give me a bed and help me out and help me find a job. Yeah, first, that was the first thing that really helped me when that feeling came up, as a routine to go through this list. And the second thing is to realize, okay, we have high standards ourselves. We want to make the music on that level and be the artist and freelance and all. But if we really get into super big trouble, this fantasy of losing everything or not having anything, as academics, we will always find a job that can pay our living in the countries we live in. We will always find something. We just have to lower our standards a little bit, that we now, of course, have and we should have, but it's not hopeless. Like wherever we apply, in a gardening company or a library or whatever it is, we could always make a living from something that is a side expertise of ours, or teach or whatever it is. Like, there is also a buffer like that. So I think the anxiety very often comes when we decide, okay, I really want to go for just this plan A, and it doesn't work out yet, but a good routine is to know you can have a plan B if plan A doesn't work out quick enough, and then you can go back to plan A. And in the meanwhile, you already install your money management system, and also from other incomes that's possible, and can help a lot to, at the point where it feels maybe less scary, go back to plan A, if the moments of being scared get too frequent. So yeah, you're a human being with, or we all are human beings with so many possibilities. like Bastien just said, yeah, we have to be this and manager, and now we also invest and have a money management and bookkeeping. Yeah, go through the list of your skills that are part of plan A or maybe part of you as a person. Okay, who else? Okay, so if there are no further questions or things you're moved to say or to add, then it's my moment now to say thank you for your openness and trust. I totally don't take this for granted. We saw each other partly in Berlin, but you don't know me very well, and it is a very big honor to be in conversation with you, to have been in conversation with you, and yeah, all these topics are very close to my heart for all of us in the choir scene, because I think they are a big part of carrying it into the future, all of them, so that we radiate really something magnetic, and audiences start to grow by themselves without all this effort that it at the moment feels like we have to do. So this is always the main thought for me, that we can be at the highest quality of music and see a future for this and an impact for this thing what we do. So from all these tiny little points, going back to, it's about the music making, and that this is great, and we can focus on it and devote our lives to it, because this is what we were born to do. This is what we're here for. Yeah, if you want to stay in touch, I am not on social media, but I have a weekly newsletter where I share this kind of topics and other things, questions my clients ask me, and answers to that, or thoughts on that. I will send a link to Gisem. I saw that I sent it last time after Berlin, and some people, I think, tried to sign up, but missed the double opt-in, which is a necessity in Germany. So if you want to sign up, then you have to write your email, and then you go to your inbox and say, yes, I really want to be on this list, and maybe that is in your spam, because I think there were 3 people and it didn't work out, and I cannot see who tried, so I cannot get in touch if you don't confirm your email address. And I would be very happy to continue the conversation in one way or another. And otherwise, maybe we meet making music one day. That would also be the same as amazing, of course. Yeah. Okay. Gisem, you have the last word? Or?
Jenny, thank you so much. First in Berlin, and yes, yesterday and today, the 2 sessions. I was listening to all of them, and I'm a freelancer as well. So especially today's session, I was like, yes, I needed to hear them. Thank you so much for everything. And if you want to reach out to any of us, of course, you have the path definitely to reach. Guys, thank you so much for attending, and both of them were 9 a.m. sessions. I know it's not the easiest, and we even had people from Portugal, so it was 8 a.m. for them. Oh. Thank you so much for the effort and everything, and I really hope that you enjoyed. The feedback form, I put it down here, so as everything is warm, if you can feel it now, it would be the best, I think, but I'm going to post it on the WhatsApp group as well. The next session is going to be on the 4th, which is the Saturday for social media, Elizabeth Kösner, which was a referral by Jenny as well. So please make sure to check the messages that I have sent about that one too. And thank you so much. See some of you in Ankara
If I can just ask quickly, I think if I understand the next session falls in for ones that are going to Ankara during our rehearsal time, or no?
It does not, because Joseph needed to change the time. On 4th, actually, you are not going to have the rehearsal. It will be this training, and then the team in Ankara is planning on some nice stuff for you guys to do together.
Okay, so
So
like,
fourth
so
is
we
gonna be
can attend.
getting into the Ankara Rhythm day, and on 5th the rehearsals are gonna start.
Okay, great.
So you can
Thank you.
definitely join the
Okay.
session, but just keep in mind Turkey is 1 hour ahead than Central European
Right.
time.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye bye. Take care.